everyone, it's Christina from East Kitchen. It's Saturday morning, and naturally I thought, what a good day to be making some vegan dim sum from my new cookbook. So I know what you guys are thinking, because like prior to me cooking as much as I do now, I would have never thought that I could make like dim sum, like never mind vegan dim sum. So it was very surprising to find that actually, like for this recipe, you will see that you really only need a couple of ingredients. They're really readily available. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna prep the mushrooms, and I'm just chopping 5 or 6 of these. This is kind of the size that we're looking for. It's gonna substitute for the shrimp, but it's also going to add just a little bit more texture to the shumai. Shumai usually is a mix of pork and then it's a mix of shrimp. Okay, so now we're gonna do the meat for the shumai first, that like lovely pork filling. And of course, it shouldn't come as a surprise to you, but I'm going to use, I'll start listing out the ingredients because I'm not going to remember exactly how much it is. So about a ½ cup of vital wheat gluten. Vegans should know this, but if you're not vegan, essentially gluten it's the protein that is in wheat. You grind up wheat to make flour. There's like starches, there's like carbs. A ½ cup of potato starch. And the reason for that is because when you're making shumai like normally, what they ask for is a very finely ground pork, so that when you bite into it, everything is like nice and soft. And so anybody who's worked with gluten before, you know that it can get quite kind of like elasticy, it can get quite chewy, it can actually get quite hard. So what I end up doing is I take ingredients that kind of soften the gluten back down. So things like potato starch, it could be cornstarch. And so this will keep kind of your meaty parts really nice and tender. Now we're going to put in some of the flavoring agents. So this is just some garlic powder. Garlic powder makes anything taste meaty. A little bit of ground white pepper. These things that I'm putting in, it's usually what is used to flavor the pork anyways. Not this yet. Let's put this in. A little bit of sugar. That just helps to balance out flavor, because when you're talking about like Asian cooking, you'll realize it is not just salt and pepper. We use things like sugar. We use things like vinegar. Vinegar is very much like lemon juice, where it's used not necessarily just to make things sour, but just a little bit of the sourness kind of like oomph, brings out the flavor. So the next thing that I have is pretty interesting. This is a vegan pork powder. And you guys are gonna be like, where do you find these things? But what I like about these is like there's usually like a chicken version, a beef version, a pork version. And if you have those at your disposal, you could literally make any meat that you want. Some of them are more artificial than others. So if you have an issue with that, you'll find yourself a good kind of like a vegetable broth stock cube. So right now it's just all powder. And the reason that I'm keeping it this way is because for gluten, as soon as it touches water, it starts bunching up, it starts clumping up into its own like gigantic form. I'm gonna put in my mushrooms right now, all chopped up. So it can be mushrooms, it can be shrimp as well. Show you guys how this looked close up, in case if you couldn't see it. So now we're gonna add in the liquid ingredients. This is literally the point of no return. Like as soon as you add liquid to this, it will become a different being. Mix all of the liquid ingredients first. Water, some oil. Because gluten there's no fat. Adding that little bit of oil gives it a little bit of richness, fixes the texture up a little bit, but oil is also one of those like disruptor ingredients, just like the potato starch was, that's going to help keep the gluten from getting just into one giant kind of really hard rubbery clump. And I'm just gently folding everything because I'm not looking to overwork it. I just want it to combine. Doesn't that look good? So dumpling wrappers, say that usually the ones that I get at the grocery store, they have a tendency to be a little bit too big. What I do is I end up just cutting out smaller bits, and then that way you get smaller wrappers that don't kind of flare out all over the place. Et voila. Usually on top of, I guess, more fancy shumai, it's decorated on the top with like some shrimp eggs or something. After the filling has rested, I'd say the best thing to do, because gluten and seitan has a tendency to be like really rubbery and really hard, I'm just going to take like a spoon and a fork and just break them apart into little pieces that I'm going to be filling the dumplings with. So broken up into little pieces, I'd say there's, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 14 pieces? How you fill a shumai dumpling traditionally is there's actually no pleating involved at all. What you do is you form these circles with your hands, and then as you stuff the ground meat in, that kind of stuffing naturally has the wrapper envelop around the meat, and then it sort of forms this like kind of flowery, natural, kind of pleaty pattern that you see. So we're gonna do the same thing with seitan, only with seitan it's a lot more like rubbery. It is not as malleable as ground meat is, so you're gonna have to kind of do your work in shaping it with your fingers, and then we're going to press it down. Okay, you can kind of see already it's much harder than ground meat. So I'm just pressing down with my spoon. And as it presses down, I'm squishing it with my finger, just like tightening that ring so that everything kind of squishes up. And then you'll see, like, naturally it becomes sort of like this flowery shape. Hold on. And it has the kind of like the pleats that you go. And what you want to do is you just want to flatten this bottom so that it can sit like this. And you just want to steam these guys on like medium-high heat for about 20 minutes or so, because the gluten needs to be cooked first, or else you're going to have some raw gluten. Where did you go? Cool. Okay, so the timer just went off, so we can check out how good these guys look. Very steamy. I think they definitely ballooned a little bit as they cooked, so they got actually bigger. Wait. So you can actually see like the skin actually turns nice and translucent. That's quite good. Probably shouldn't have stuffed that whole thing in. It's quite nice because we have the potato starch to really kind of, the potato starch kind of like makes it more tender and more soft, and then the oil adds just a little bit of richness. Also, what's really good about having either like mushrooms, or if you guys were able to find the vegan shrimp in between, is it also breaks up the seitan a bit. But by putting different things with texture in between, and you guys can choose to put things like water chestnut or just different vegetables, like whatever you guys want. It just breaks it up further so that it tastes quite nice that way. But yeah, I think that's it for me. I hope you guys all enjoyed this vegan dim sum shumai recipe. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys again next time. All right, bye.